Wow. Uh, hey, everyone. Wow, looks like we have a really good, crap, I left my water upstairs. Got a really good group of people. I'm just looking at the chat. Is it is there a significant Joe Strummer date today, Douglas? But right, is that the most melancholy thing at the end? It just goes, Mr. Blue Sky, and it just goes off a cliff. Hey, Michael. We got people from Michael from Toronto. I'm not sure where everybody else is from, but thanks, Molly. Preparation is key. So welcome to our MmX weekly series, born out of our MmX Midwest Music Expo conference. We were supposed to have one in May down at Millikan University, the beautiful campus down there, which would have been our second one. But of course, the pandemic caused us to go virtual. And surprisingly, we tripled our registrations, and we had people from 23 countries show up for it was a long day, but oh my goodness, was it fantastic. So we just started to immediately to do these weekly events. I'm looking forward to today with Randy Chertkow, but before we get into it with Randy, we're going to be, Randy's going to be giving us 45 revenue streams in 45 minutes, taken from the book he co-wrote with Jason Freeman called Making Money with Music, which is just really, it's really good, laid out in a really easy to follow checklist kind of way. Next week, we're moving to Friday. We'll be talking with Add2. It's my friend Andre, who is a local artist. He released an album last year called Jim Crow, the Musical, which is really great. A couple of lines on the song Hashtag kind of stopped me in my tracks last week. You can't tell the difference between a phone or a bag of Skittles. And yeah, so he has a place called the Haven at 47th and King Drive here in Chicago, which is a studio for anybody, free studio for anybody who wants to go in there. It literally is a haven for youth over there. So that's going to be Friday. And we already have lined up some more amazing panelists for the weeks and the months to come. So you're in the right place. Thanks for joining us. So Randy's kind of an interesting guy here. Aside from columns for Electronic Music Magazine and a bestseller, I'm sorry if I get this name wrong, Randy, the Indie Band Survival Guide.
Oh, you nailed it.
And is there another one?
Yeah, the DIY Music Manual as well.
Okay, these are all really good titles, by the way. DIY Music Manual, and then this one, Making Money with Music, which is where today's material comes from. Also, before I kind of hand it over to you, Randy, we were talking earlier before we started. Hey, greetings from Philadelphia and San Diego. Hi. You also undertook a project to write a song every day or release a song every day. Yeah. And you said you learned a couple of interesting things. Could you talk about that for a minute before you jump into your presentation?
Sure, happy to. Our band decided to take on the challenge of releasing a song every day for a year. So 365 songs, and it ramped up our basically our songwriting skills. It really honed our skills. And it's interesting in that the bar didn't get raised. We actually had to lower the bar on ourselves to really get the creativity out, to create so many things. And the thing is, when you collaborate on something like that, you're able to honor the creative impulses that you have, because there's a reason for every little creative, okay, I feel like doing this. And when everybody's accepting, as my band is, and like really open to it, you end up writing just a lot of great music. And like you said at the beginning, not all of them could be good. Is true. The other
So,
thing that we learned is that, yeah, go ahead, Martin.
so um, uh, lyrically, did all the songs have lyrics?
Most of them do. Almost all of them do.
How was that? Like, how many love songs can you write?
It's what was one of the most amazing things is that we ended up writing songs about these things that happened in our lives, whatever was going on. But we're here in Chicago. I'm in Chicago too. That's part of how we met, you and I. And we teamed up with some people who did Second City, which are really about improv. Some of those guys, actually, all we did was we brainstormed just titles, no music, just titles. And then somebody would take those titles and they made lyrics, but they weren't musicians. So they were just lyrics with no melody, nothing. And then other of the band said, oh, I think I could turn that into a song. And then they tweaked it so it would fit like a lyrical structure.
Oh,
And next thing you know, other people joined in and added their instruments. So there was like these little steps along the way.
it's so I like the. I think we have this idea. Somebody said once, I think it was Paul McCartney, and I don't want to be saying, F Paul McCartney. However, he did say he woke up one day and Eleanor Rigby was fully formed in his head, and he wrote it on the back of a cigarette packet. And I think, like, anybody who heard that story is like, oh, I want to be a songwriter. Therefore, I'll go to bed and I'll see if I can wake up in the morning with the
I
song.
believe in that. Yeah.
What a service! It's more like going to the gym.
Yeah.
Practice this stuff. I did I came up with the idea of a record release party in a laundromat. It would be interesting to do. And of course, nobody's interested in the music, but everybody has dirty underwear. So, right. And then it's like, well, how can I justify this? So I set a challenge, like, well, you just have to write your songs as if they would work in a laundromat. So a love song, your love is like a stain in my underpants that won't be bleached out, but as frivolous as that might sound,
yeah.
if you're dealing with sync placements or TV people, that's exactly what's going to happen. Somebody's going to be saying, we've got $5,000, but we need a song about laundry, cats, that also mentions ice cream.
Yes.
And you've got to, yeah.
I love that kind of stuff. I love getting song commissions where it's like out of left field and we have to just write something about it. I just love that stuff. I don't know about you, but it's great.
And it leads to some kind of, I could see somebody like calling me in tears or grabbing me at a show. That song about the stained underpants. I mean, it touched me. Like, okay,
Okay, yeah.
You never know. You never know how someone's going to receive the material that you put out. Yeah,
totally.
So somebody said, is this a way around no venues because the laundromats are open in Madison, Wisconsin? Well, it wasn't intended as that, but there are a few venues actually. Sudsy Malone's in Cincinnati, Ohio is a bar and a laundromat.
Oh, no way.
So people will go and do their laundry and drink. And the biggest problem they had, and I was like, bar fights? No, people will get drunk and leave their laundry behind. So, okay, enough chit chat. I'm as excited as I hope everybody else is to see your presentation, Randy, and I'm going to let you take it away.
That sounds great. Thanks so much for having me. Can I verify that you can see the presentation right now? Oh, you're on mute, but I hope you're saying yes.
Yes, I can see it. Molly's saying yes too.
Fantastic.
And the chat is saying there's a good group. There's 34, 35 people in the chat, so that's great.
That's a great group. Well, we're looking forward to talking about this. Of course, these are the types of things that happen after you have your music. So the assumption, the only assumption really, is that you have your music. You did such a fantastic job introducing me. I can skip this part. The book that this is based on is Making Money with Music, as Martin said. And you can, there's a QR code here if you want to snap a quick picture of it. There's also an audiobook for it, and some people I know like to consume it that way. One other thing, really focused on money and music. That's really what's driven me and my co-author for the last 5 or 6 years, intensely researching all the different ways to make money with music. We have a newsletter that comes out every 2 weeks. It's totally free, and you can get it from makingmoneywithmusic.com/newsletter, where we cover things like this, which is about money and music, where as Jason and I toured around the country and spoke about our book to help people basically run their own music labels, run their own music businesses without a label and doing it themselves, we would often get asked, how do I make money with it? And the funny thing is, it's the same answer in some ways as any kind of business would have. It applies to a business whether you have a taco stand or a multinational oil company. And that's basically what you make minus what you spend is what you keep. It's that simple. You need to make more money than you spend. A lot of music businesses have trouble because they spend too much, even though they're making some good money. But what we're here to talk about is not ways to save money, which can be, just about talking about how to get the best value out of things, but it's about increasing what you make by adding more income streams. Now, when we talk about this with various groups, and I've spoken in front of people, we actually often like to ask, how many ways do you think there are to make money in the first place? And the most common answers we get is, it's about live, it's about products and merchandise, it's about music sales and streams. But as I've gone out there to catalog every way to make money from music, and in particular, ways to make money from any creative endeavor that musicians can also tap, we actually have cataloged over 300 ways to make money with music. I think today's count is at about 310, but I keep collecting more every time I run into people. I've added a few based on just talking with Martin at different times, by the way. He's had some very, very clever ways to do it. If I were to catalog them into categories, this is a decent list of the different types of things you can do. And usually when we show this, people start to get ideas. It's like, oh yeah, I can actually do something with this category. But I think in this talk, in the 45 ways I'm about to dive into very shortly, I think there's about 12 of these represented, just to give you an idea of the types of things that are out there. Now, of course, you need to set up these income sources for your music business, because promotion alone doesn't work. I've seen lots of books out there that talk about how to promote yourself and how to get your music out there and heard. But the problem is, you really can't buy lunch with likes. It's not enough to do that. If you set up the income streams to happen before you do the promotion, this is the business side of the music business. The music side, we're all assuming that we're kind of enjoying making our music and getting it out there. But if you line up the rest, you can actually do some pretty well with it and build up your business. Now, I'm going to be mentioning lots of links and services. They are only suggestions on how to actually do this. It's not like I'm giving an endorsement to it. I actually need to stay very neutral to it and do, because I'm out there talking about this, and there's lots of different possible solutions to it. So you can see each of these 45 ways to make money with music as sort of an idea, and a number of services that could do that idea, but you might be able to find others. So let's just dive right in. 45 income streams in 45 minutes. We're going to run through them really quickly, starting with royalties, which you really need to sign up for before you release your music. Because if you're going to work hard to get your music heard, you may as well collect performance royalties as a songwriter and a publisher. Now, some musicians know about this, but we've run into a surprising number that think along the lines of, well, I'm a songwriter, so I just need to sign up to get songwriter royalties. Interestingly, if you are not working with a publisher, then you are the publisher. And if you don't sign up your music twice, you'll only get 50% of the money you're supposed to get. So you have to register each song twice with a pro, which is a performance rights organization. And good examples of that is ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC. Those are the most common ones you see for that. So you register your song twice. That's the first two income sources. But what sometimes people miss is that there's foreign performance royalties. And foreign is as related to whatever country you're in. So if you're in the US, it's the rest of the world. If you're in Canada, then US is foreign royalties. You have to tell these organizations to collect these on your behalf, or else you're leaving that out. In today's world, you might be thinking, I don't really tour anywhere. Interestingly, if you put your music out there on the internet, you don't know where they're coming from to listen to it. I think that when I was in the middle of the Song of the Day project and releasing songs every day for a year, we'd keep looking at our web stats. And I think that there was something like 98 different countries of people that were listening to our music. You don't know if that's going to take off, start getting played on the radio or by DJs in that country, and collecting royalties that you're not going to get if you don't ask them for it. The for-profit alternatives here do a slightly better job of collecting the money more quickly than ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC. They have a slower process, is what the word on the street is. And so you're going to want to really research this to do it. The easy button is to just go with your original pro, like ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC, and just ask for it. The for-profit alternatives that you see take an extra cut. So make sure that you're doing some due diligence and figuring out what you need. 4 and 5, there's a whole different set of royalties that's based on the sound recording that's different than the composition. Don't really have a lot of time to talk about the difference between the copyrights of each of these, but just know that whenever your music is streamed on the internet, non-interactively, meaning they can't hit rewind or necessarily choose what the music is, Sound Exchange is what collects it for you. Sound Exchange is completely free to join. And again, the music royalties are split between the sound recording owner and the featured artist, which means you need to register your song twice. Featured artists are the performers on it. It also could include things like the engineer and producer and mastering engineer. Each of them could be included on this if you wish. So it's something to be done for this, and Sound Exchange is something to add as well. Number 6, there's a foreign version of this as well. And you can fill out an international mandate on Sound Exchange to do that for you. Sound Exchange has international partners. The other way to do it is to individually register with all of the various pro organizations across the world, because they collect non-interactive streams there. We do it differently in the US. Number 7, interactive and mechanical royalties, a whole nother type of royalty. Again, I don't have time for the whys. I'm just here to tell you what to do in order to collect more money. You can get this from distribution partners, and you can also get it from something like Harry Fox or Music Reports. CD Baby, TuneCore, DistroKid, and Route Note can collect these for you sometimes. These are your distribution partners that actually distribute it to streaming services. And our book goes into more detail about this because it can be a little confusing, but it's really easy if you work with them. You just tell them to collect it for you. Now, YouTube has something called Adshare on top of everything else we're talking about. This is not the partner revenue for when people listen to your YouTube channel. No, this is when your music is used in videos by other people out there on YouTube. So I had, out of Song of the Day, actually, one of the songs that I wrote got made into a music video by a fan. Content ID is what grabs the digital fingerprint on that and figures out that it's being paid and pays you royalties based on Adshare. You can also tell them to take the song down. I don't recommend that to most people, but sometimes contractually people are required to. That said, if you want to collect the money for this, you can go directly to YouTube Content ID, but they don't necessarily let everybody in. In fact, they tend to like to deal with labels, in which case you can go with some services that collect it on your behalf and, of course, take a cut. So Audium, AdRev, Songtrust, Rumblefish, or your distribution partners might be able to collect that for you. So that's number 8. Let's move into music sales. So now you have a song. Of course, you can do physical music products. There's lots of these. This is sort of the CDs, CDRs, DVDs, cassette tapes, that kind of stuff. If you're live, which I know is a little harder to do lately, but hopefully one day we'll be able to see ourselves in person and get into a room and actually play music together. We're looking forward to that. That'd be great to do again. And if you do, of course, it's easy to do this, but you can also do this on demand. So if you've never tried this before, check out something like Amazon Media on Demand. It allows you to upload your music, upload the art, and let people buy CDs if they want them. It doesn't cost anything from your point of view. And when the actual fan buys it, they pay for everything. They pay for the shipping, they pay for the manufacturing. So you can have CDs available for sale for $0. Really, really cool and handy. Music downloads, of course, are a little bit obvious. Most people do this through their distribution partners, but you can amp it up a little bit. If you have the type of music that people want to hear in high quality or lossless, you can sell it yourself using Bandcamp, Nimbit, Shopify, anywhere that you can sell downloads. Also, for nearly every major genre, there are actually certain specialty websites, is the best way to put it, that sell high quality versions. If you find these, you can submit your music for that and give them those downloads. And if they accept it, you have yet another outlet to sell your music for audiophile versions of your genre, audiophile fans of your genre. So that's really a nice extra that you can make off of the same music you have for sale elsewhere. Download cards and stickers are yet another way to sell it in person and are a good idea. Your major manufacturers have ways to do this, like disc makers and Oasis CD. But what I like lately that's even more fun are vinyl records, which have made a real comeback. Even in the last like 5 to 6 years, you see a lot more of this. There's lots of ways to make your vinyl, but the one that I like the most lately is crates. You can see it at the bottom, Crates. It's pronounced crates. Crates allows you to do something like a crowdfunding campaign for your vinyl, meaning you go to your fans and you say, hey, if you guys want a vinyl version of this music, sign up for this. As long as I get the minimum number of people signing up for this, it will get produced. And so they'll actually recruit people in order to get enough copies of it so that they hit that minimum production level. At which point, Crates will then make the album and send it to people. No muss and no fuss on your end. You don't have to do the fulfillment. And it doesn't cost anything to throw up an album to let people do this campaign, which means that it is no risk at your part and you can have vinyl if your fans demand it. So it's a really great way to go about it. Number 13, USB drives. This is my favorite way to sell music in person, partly because USB drives come in the most incredible different forms, including functional items like can openers, lighters, and pens. I've seen things like toy robots that form into bigger toy robots. I've seen all kinds of different aspects of this where people will really spend a lot of money on it because it's an item that people want from venues and from things like that. You can also sell more than just your music. You can sell lots of different types of content. You can sell photos, videos, all kinds of things. Check out things like premium USB and custom USB for the ideas of all the different types. The cheapest one is to just slap your logo on a simple USB drive, and that's a good way to go. So let's talk about your gear in studio. Your rehearsal space itself is actually worth something to people, and it's a great way to monetize what you already have. You can rent it out. If you check out Fredish, what you can do is if you have, let's say, a unique synthesizer, as I do, I have an Alesis QS8. It's an 88 key weighted key keyboard that has a certain set of sounds that people really like. And it's really useful when people come touring into town and they just want to use the type of equipment they want without shipping it. So I've heard that during South by Southwest, for example, people use services like Fredish in order to really make some good money off of the equipment that they have, just because touring bands want to have it available. You can also rent out your studio space. So the things that you already have that's sort of just sitting in your closet could actually be collecting money for you. So there's a lot of outputs of the recording process that's also useful, like beats and loops. And there's a lot of marketplaces for this. So your musician fans are very interested in getting a hold of whatever you're using to make your music. Now, sites like Splice, Beatport, BeatStars, and Airbit are curated, which means that they don't accept just anybody to do it. They actually want you to um, be accepted by them, and they have their own criteria, and you can't choose what they do. If you still want to sell it, you can always use Shopify or Squarespace to sell your own, or any other place that sells downloads. There's other things you can do from the output of your studio. You might think, well, I make my album, I make my final release, and that's all that I make money on. But it's not true, because your samples, your sound files, your virtual instruments, everything that you used in order to make your music are things that people want. Now, those same sites that we talked about let you do that, or you can sell the downloads. Another thing that's not on this slide is that you can use it as a Patreon reward, saying, you know what, I'm going to put out music on a regular basis, but if you want to get a hold of the virtual instruments I used, or the MIDI files, or maybe the DAW files from the actual process, pay me $10 a month, just support me, and you'll get access to these as I release the music, which gives you a regular income stream, not just a one-off income stream. $10 a month, $120 a year. Of course, the stems and the source tracks are another part of this. So that's number 16. So let's move on to another part of our music, our fan base. Naturally, you can always raise money by crowdfunding, and there's lots of ways to do this using Kickstarter, Indiegogo, Launchpad, Adshare, and there's many, many, many others that you can do. It's a great way to maybe fund an album or fund a single project. But what I recommend, instead of doing that, instead of just getting a one-time payment for people, why not get recurring monthly income? I am very fond of Patreon and the patronage model in general. And the great thing about that is you can think of it as a fan club if you have not run into this before. The great thing about this is that if you set the rewards the right way, you can actually really tempt people and lure people into giving you regular monthly support directly from your fans. And if you can do something along the lines, I wouldn't recommend anybody dive in and try a Song of the Day project unless you spend some time planning it. We did it, I think we planned it for a good year before we released it. And then we went into production mode, serious production mode, way before that year started. So we had music all the way through April before we even started. But if you can release maybe even once every 2 weeks, once every week would be great, 52. But if you can just get 26 individual tracks, and they could be different, even remixes of the same track, people will want to support you when you release things regularly. And this is going to be a theme going forward with some of the other things, because instead of getting a one-time payment, you just make it available if they get a reward, and then you get regular support. Of course, you can get a one-time payment like donations and tips using a donation platform. QR codes are very useful for that, so people can use their phones to go to a website. There's sites like busk.co that help you with that. And of course, payment services like PayPal, Venmo, and Square Cash are neat. Licensing. So this is going to be an interesting run if you have not run into licensing. I did a lot of research on this by interviewing music supervisors, who are the people who choose the music to put in front of the director of a particular work in order to solve whatever they need for that music segment that they require. Let's say it's a car chase, they need really active music. If it's a love scene, you need something different. It turns out that movies actually have one type of music supervisor, and the links that you're going to see are going to be repeated because the links are general platforms to do it. Here's the thing to understand about the links that you're going to see here is that they are sort of like putting your stuff out there and saying, look, it's available, just go ahead and put it out and take it from here. But this business tends to be more of a networking and in-person type of business where you have a personal relationship with people. So these sites, while they'll put your music out there, the thing is to get to know a music supervisor that does movies, get to know the music supervisors that do movie trailers. Yes, they're different music supervisors for this. And movie trailers, by the way, want all of your stems and source tracks because they're looking for the right emotional hit at the very precise moment that they want. They will slice up your music differently than a movie will. and television needs something different. They usually need music very quickly. They're on a very quick production schedule. They'll tend to take it as it is, but they're going to need it. They're going to need paperwork ready to go. So you have to be easy. And advertising, which will also want your source tracks and things like that, but they're looking to hit a demographic and catch a certain sound. Interestingly, for all of these, including apps, video games, VR, and more, this is the only one with a slightly different website, Songlily, if you haven't heard of it, which handles that kind of platform, is that for all of these types of things, a lot of them do it, again, based on people that they know, because they want to make sure that you own, as they say, 200% of the music. That's not hyperbole. That means that you own the composition and you own the sound recording. It's also why for anything that you try and license, you should really not use any samples, because sampled music are owned by other people. And I know that there might be royalty-free versions of samples, but they're still a little averse to doing it. So if you can, make all of your music, prove that you own it a 200%, and you'll have an easier time getting through music licensing. Let's move on to merchandise. So it's really one of the great ways to create additional revenue is to just have more stuff to sell. I see far too many artists just have a t-shirt and say, okay, I'm done with merch, let's move on. So of course, t-shirts are usually where to start. And the great thing about t-shirts is if you don't really have any revenue right now and you have no money to put forward, you don't need any, because you can use District Line, Spreadshirt, Zazzle, Cafe Press, Redbubble. There's quite a few other merch on demand services. They allow you to upload your image and set up a little online store for this particular item and have it ready to go. Again, the fan pays for the shipping, the fan pays to get it produced. And this means that there is no artist that has a fan base out there that should not have merch available for sale, because it costs nothing and you just need an image. And if you at least have a logo, you have a reason to make one t-shirt. The same is true of posters. You can do posters on demand the same way, and of course you can make a bunch of them. The nice thing about posters is you can make many different versions of it for in person, including a small version that's cheap and a larger version that's poster size, that's a little more expensive, and then you can have a framed version for your fans that have a lot more money. And the framed version ends up making the poster version look cheaper. So the great thing is I always have high-end items, and I usually like to do it. Stickers are great, not just because they're cheap as heck, and the margin on them can be incredibly large. Even if you sell it for $1, if you're making them for 6 cents, that's an incredibly high margin. But they're so cheap to make, you can also use them as upsells. So you sell them for $1, and then imagine at the merch table, someone picks up the sticker, they like the idea of the sticker, and you say, by the way, you get the sticker for free if you buy the t-shirt. Suddenly now they're considering buying a t-shirt when they weren't before. And then if they pick up the t-shirt, it's like, by the way, if you buy the t-shirt and the hat, you can get the t-shirt and the hat and a poster for this much more than what you're paying right now, and suddenly you've upsold them into buying 3 things instead of buying the sticker that they had. So it's very useful. It's also useful advertising, of course, because you can put your website on it. Headwear is another thing that you see very often that I just mentioned. It has a slightly different set of links, so I'll leave it up just for a second for those of you who are probably screenshotting this as it goes. The things you want to check out are things like Hat Store World. They're a little more expensive than you would think as an item, but if people really like them and they fit your music style, then that's a great idea. So there's another type of item you can do, and that is smoking paraphernalia. There is branded smoking paraphernalia. So papers, matches, lighters, all kinds of things that you might use to smoke. Very handy, and it's a nice type of item depending on what kind of music you have. Vape materials, lots of great impulse buys, and of course, it's a practical item, at least for some fans who really want to get a hold of it. Apparel and clothing, there are more of options for this than I think most musicians really dive into. Of course, Jason and I, when we dug into this and really did our research to find it, we found that a lot of these items that are made in either India or China are so cheap on a per item basis that you can make money even if you're selling them for $10, and $20 can be as much as you could get an item for $2 and sell it for 20. I mean, the margin can be absolutely huge and really good. And what especially works well, and I saw one artist do very, very well, is that he had a Caribbean band. He was playing the steel pan, or steel drums as they're often called colloquially, but he always said, no, it's called the steel pan. And it was sort of Caribbean music. He had like kind of the Hawaiian shirt type of thing, and he teamed up with a Hawaiian shirt company. And now he's selling the same kind of items that he's wearing, and it's in the vibe of what he's actually doing. So I think that people don't think about this as often. Check out DHgate if you want to get an idea of the variety of things that are available. It's incredible, and if you find something that fits your online and in-person persona, it can be very effective. The same is true of jewelry. I'll leave this up for a second so you can screenshot the various places where you might be able to get custom jewelry. There is more of a variety than you might think, and some of the items are very cheap and have a very, very high margin. Again, if you can wear it on stage, or if it's something that fits what your persona is all about, you actually have a very compelling reason for people to want to buy it. I love lighted merch. I love lighted merch so much, because if you are in person, especially in a dark venue, and somebody's wearing something on their wrist and it's glowing, other fans will say, hey, where did you get that? They point their way to your merch table. Your merch table in back has lighted stuff already sitting there that you could see it all the way across the room, and they have to have one. They are so cheap you wouldn't believe it. Even if you go on Amazon and look at glow bracelets, you'll find that you can get like 100 for $8, and so the price per unit is so low. You can sell them for $1 or $2 or even $5, and people love it. There's also more variety of these things than you might think. You really want to check out things like Pixmob and Xylobands. Pixmob in particular has the type that can be activated by an RF device, and so they're not just items. They're items that will react to like the music or something going on in the venue. This is a little higher up, but if you have more people that are coming to your venues and you have slightly larger audience, you can actually do a lot with this. That it becomes part of your show, is the best way to put it. I think people often leave off selling food. They don't really think about it too much, but you can brand food. You can brand like those little candy hearts that you would see on Valentine's Day. You can brand M&Ms, lots of different items. Like my custom candy has a huge list. You will probably, if you look at this, I almost guarantee that you will get ideas on how to make a branded version of this, including putting your lyrics on it, or other lines that you're famous for saying, maybe your tagline. And of course, you can have a lot of fun with those hearts by saying things like whatever you want. You can be, I don't think that they censor it. So go nuts and have fun on that. Now I'm going to get into a stream. I had this section before, and it used to be about just live events, but I want to do live streamed events since it's a little harder to play live lately. You can actually, there's many ways to monetize live streamed events. That's the good news. If you bring it online, of course, you can always make it a pay-per-view event instead of just letting everybody see it. So you have places like Stage It that allow you to charge in order to get access to it. Vimeo OT allows you to do it. And there's lots of different methods that you can use to get people interested in doing it if you already have a fan base. Another way to do it is to use Patreon again. Patreon, if they pay a certain amount per month, let's say $10 or $15 a month or whatever you want to charge, and say, if you're at least at this level, then you can attend my concerts or these pay-per-view concerts. Have other ones that are free so you can keep getting new fans in, and suddenly you're getting people to pay for it on a regular basis instead of just one-off. I have seen people do some great things with tips, and one of it is to make sure that in the actual frame of what people are seeing, you can see the places to give tips like Venmo and PayPal Me. I was actually just watching an online show where they did it. Another way to do it is to use your video software like OBS, which allows you to do an overlay. So for your overlay, there'll be something in the corner of your screen that says, hey, give me a tip at Venmo, here's my Venmo, here's my PayPal. The other way to do it is to use platforms that collect tips for you. So Twitch, Facebook, and YouNow are good examples of that. Check it out. You can see how they do it. Naturally, in that case, they take a cut. But the good news about what they have is that fans who are on Twitch and YouNow, especially, those two especially, have already basically swiped their credit card. So to give you a tip doesn't mean that they have to go out and dig for their credit card and fill out their information. They've already done it. And the way that those tips are done are usually something like applause. You'll do something and then they'll give you a tip at that point, which actually ends up putting things on the screen and makes everybody happy. So they tend to be something that's almost like throwing you money whenever you do something good on the platforms. It's done in a slightly different way than you think. We've been talking about patronage. This is yet another time where you can get extra money from even your free live shows, because what you do is you charge for extra features like access to the recording afterwards, or access to the video afterwards, or extras that they can't see otherwise. There's lots of different ways to do this. Patreon has different levels of support, and so at a certain level of support or higher, you would be able to give that to them. Twitch and other channels allow you to do something called channel memberships, which allow people to join as a member. They end up getting benefits like special icons on the chat and other features. They also get special emoticons or other things like that. You may think that depending on whether you've seen this culture or not, you may say like, well, who cares? Go on Twitch and take a look at the most popular gamer channels. You'll find out that the supporters have special things by their name, and they're able to do things and emote things that the others can't. And that actually creates a little bit of a center of gravity towards becoming a member. So once you actually join these platforms, you can do some neat things with it. And these platforms allow you to just broadcast whatever you want, which means you can put your channel, your live shows on Twitch very easily. Adshare revenue, of course, is something you can get. This is distinct from what I said earlier. So we're at number 39. This is distinct from like whatever it was, number 6 or 7, where you do Adshare. This is actually being a partner of the channel. So YouTube will allow you to do it if you have, I think, 1,000 subscribers now. They change it on a regular basis. Twitch also allows you to get Adshare revenue if you are a partner. They all have their different methods to choose what a partner is and isn't. So you'll have to check out the various platforms on how to do it, but it's another way to make money from your online shows. Very often it's used Adshare. They actually usually roll a pre-roll ad before people join if they're not a member, and therefore you'll get that cut of that pre-roll ad. And they'll even interrupt the feed sometimes to just throw an ad in the middle of it. You can, of course, charge for access to the recording. There's so many ways to do this. I better leave this screen up for you screenshotters out there, all the different ways to do this. Disc makers, Oasis CD, you can do lots of different ways to do this for physical products. And also for direct download links. Bandcamp is very popular for that. Or using Shopify, Squarespace, Cash Music is a platform that's a little for the geeks among you, but I added in there in case you want a completely flexible thing so you can code it the way you want it to. Sell digital downloads is very easy to do on WordPress, so there's tons and tons of ways to do this. Another very intimate way to handle online concerts is you offer one-on-one micro concerts. This is what I like to call a whale item, which means items for some of your bigger paying fans. I always like to make sure there's a lot of options for people to pay you a heck of a lot more money. And so you can give them a one-on-one concert. It might be one song or a few songs. And naturally, you can use any video calling tool to do it, like Google Meet, Skype, Zoom, many, many others as well, to do a one-on-one concert. So we're at number 42, merch sales on live streams. There's lots of ways to do this. We talked earlier about the merch on demand. All you have to do is merge that into the show and say, here's where you get it. The nice thing about the merch on demand sites is that they will have an online store for you with a link. You go to send them to that link, and you can, of course, even embed it as a widget on your website. So if you send people to your website, you can do it. So lots of ways to sell merch during your live stream that allows people to do it. I usually like the overlays method here, where you might even have a picture of the t-shirt that you're wearing and say, hey, you can get that t-shirt here, and have the link, and suddenly your online show is, because that link is sitting in the corner the whole time as an overlay, they'll keep getting a reminder that maybe they should buy the item, and suddenly you're monetizing your show a little more. 43, affiliate sales during your online shows. If you haven't run into affiliates yet, it's a whole new area. I have a whole section of the book on this for good reason, because there's a lot of different ways to do it. Amazon Associates is probably the most famous one. If you have not run into it before, a very brief description is you'll get a link that goes to the online store that basically you get a cut of whatever people buy. So you're going to provide a link to something that you're telling people to buy. That could be your music, by the way. You will get a front end cut from the affiliate link, and you'll get the back end cut for selling your music. So you'll get a second cut. The nice thing is these are just links, which means that you can easily include it in the chat of your online feed. And if you've got, let's say, a friend or a staff or somebody to help you out, they can be adding these links to the feed so that people can do it. Commission Junction allows you to do things like affiliate with major brands. One of those major brands is Guitar Center and Music 123, which means that you could provide links to the very gear that you're using to play the concert that they're watching, and saying, by the way, this is the amp that I'm using. And if they want to buy the same amp, you could get something like a 3 to 5% cut of that amp, which they would buy. So there's a lot of options with this. I talk about in the book a lot of ways to use this, but during an online show, lots of great options for it. Finally, it's to get sponsored for online shows. Sponsorships are really within everyone's reach. People think that it's only for major brands, but the truth is podcasts have really pointed the way. If you've listened to a podcast, you've probably heard them say, hey, you know what? I think, this is something that you should be interested in. I like this particular product. And by the way, if you go to the site and put in this code, you can get 20% off. Well, the fact that they're using that code means that they're going to get a cut of everyone that comes in. To see how this works, you can check out Audible's version of it. But there are many, 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 many different places out there that have this sponsorship option. And again, mostly it's aimed at podcasts, but you could use it for your online shows as well. So check it out as another method to monetize your show. Finally, number 45, there's lots and lots and lots of ways to get grants. These links, which I'll let you screenshot right here, Savvy Musicians in particular, is just a massive, massive, massive list of places to get funding. But so is NASA Arts. The Awesome Foundation is probably one of my favorites. It's a group of people who just threw money together, and you pitch the idea, and if they think it's awesome, they'll give you, I think it's $1,000 grant. So it's a really small grant. They're not going to really have a lot of paperwork or anything. And back in the day before the pandemic, they used to have these little meetings where people would just do a presentation, and if you wow them, they'll give you some money. And hopefully you go out and come back to them and say, here's the thing I did with the Awesome Foundation grant. I did this incredible thing with lights or something like that. So check it out. There's more to it than you might think, and it's not just for classical and high culture, as they say. Here's a bonus one. You can turn your music skills into money. And so we're at 46 instead of just 45. The neat thing is sites like Upwork, Fiverr, TaskRabbit, or music-specific services like AirGigs will allow you to use your music all the things you got good at for your own music business. You can actually do it for other people. It's a very active marketplace, and you could be out there actually doing it. So hopefully I've hit our time, 45 and 45 minutes. As I said, we have a newsletter that's laser focused on these types of ideas. It's money and music. And if you subscribe now, you can get the 65-page companion ebook and a starter kit. That includes split sheets, which allows you to more easily do the royalties that we talked about at the beginning. And I wanted to make sure to leave time for questions. So let me open it up to everybody. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Holy crap, Randy. That was just really, that was great. That was great. Well, listen to me, if I was a musician, which I am, but I think what I'd be doing right now is just freaking out. um, um, because there's so many. There are so many. Uh, there are so many things. Uh, can I mention a few things to you that I've come across recently?
Oh my goodness, please. Like I said, I collect these things. I always assume there's more to pick up. And you are an inspiration for this
Well,
type of thing, by the way. This
well,
this is
well. Thank you. But I'm sure you've seen what Taylor Swift is doing right now. Her new album. I think there are 8 different versions of her new album on 8 different colors of vinyl
oh,
and cassettes.
brilliant.
There are also different songs. She got good at doing this.
They're all the same songs.
Oh, it's all the
But
same
it's
songs.
all different art.
Different art,
Oh,
different
so we just
colors.
changed the art. So it's a collectible art thing. Oh, that's so brilliant.
She's crazy at that. I think you can push it too far, but then my friend, you might know Shannon Curtis, who wrote the book about house concerts.
Oh, yes. I don't, not personally, but I'm familiar with the book.
She's great, and she does custom songs for people.
Oh, yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
I think that's quite a few $100s per song, but she
Yeah.
also has something in there where she retains the rights to the song that you paid her to write,
Mhm.
and she releases those albums once a year as kind of
yes.
songs that I've written for other people. And then something else that I liked, Bradley Bills has a project called Chant, and he was one of the drummers on the Pigface tour last
Yeah.
November.
Yeah.
And we were in Texas, and all this spray paint is going on in the car park, and we were going through drum heads, with 4 drum kits set up. We were going through quite a few drum heads, and he took the stencil that we had made, and he splatter painted the used drum heads and turned them into collectible merch. Everybody.
Oh my goodness, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm gonna write that down. I hope you don't mind me writing this down
No,
right
no,
now.
I'll send you a picture of one, because I just like that. And then the only thing I would add in,
Yeah.
as kind of an asterisk, I know that there are these the places that will just make merch for you on demand, but they're expensive. And
Yes.
so,
Yes. Yes.
I
They
think
are.
if an artist can take the time to learn some very simple screen printing,
Mhm.
then they can afford to give some stuff away to build relationships and make more of a margin when they do sell.
Oh no, totally. If I could add on to that, Martin, for the audience, I remember your various talks. I mean, I went and took detailed notes on it. What Jason and I recommend as a sequence is, because it's free to do print on demand, is
Yeah.
to try out the designs and see what people actually want to buy. And then once you do, then you can invest in actually making an inventory, so
Yeah.
you haven't wasted any money and you know that it's an item people are interested in. So it's sort of like a starter test to see what works.
Yeah. It's like going to Best Buy to try 9 different pairs of headphones and then going and buying them on Amazon.
Right. Yeah, that's a nice one.
So, wow. Okay. Any questions from our? Do we have? Oh, this Q&A. There's a couple of questions in the Q&A. I don't know if you can see those.
I can't right now. No, it's not up on my screen.
Well, I can read them. From John Hadley. Can you do not-for-profit PROs and for-profit PROs? Well, I understand that one.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I understand that one. PROs are organizations that were created to collect money when your music is performed. That is performed usually on the radio, terrestrial radio, that is. Performed actually in music venues, but only larger music venues because of the way that the law was recently written, and other places. So there are actually more than the 3 that I said. I covered the rest of the other ones you might be interested in the book. There's a more complete coverage of it in Making Money with Music. Some of them are like worship music. There's actually a different PRO for that. People might not be aware of it. There's also some specialized ones that are for like really top tier artists. I do mention them all. Also, depending on what country you're in, it's on a country basis. Whatever your music organization is, if you're an artist that's, let's say, a not-for-profit, you can make money off of them just like a regular for-profit artist. Their job isn't to care about that. Their job is to just collect it. You wouldn't found a PRO unless you really, really want to get deep in the music industry. And if you do, good luck to you. I can't help you there.
Okay. There's a bunch of chat about Twitch, which I honestly, I've never been to Twitch, but I know that Fallon Bowman, who was one of the guitarists in Canadian band Kitty, she's always online gaming.
Oh, yes.
People subscribe.
Oh, sure.
So, I might actually give her a call about that. And then there's
you
one
would
other
want
thing.
to. By the way, you would want to. It is part and parcel to that whole gaming world, and they're the ones who sort of led the way. But look, they found ways to make money from playing video games in front of people. Musicians can play video games in front of people.
Yeah.
And I've seen people do it. And the way they do it is that they make a certain tier being play video game with me. And suddenly, like, people forget as a musician, sometimes especially if you're starting out, you're elevated. You're like this person on stage. They want to be with you. Well, they want to be with you online too. Look at the ways that gamers monetize their stuff. You can do the same thing as a musician, is my suggestion.
What I like about the gaming idea is it's like going to a baseball game with somebody. I'm pretty shy, but you go to a baseball game with somebody, you're like, oh, I don't know what you say, good pitch, bad pitch, go White Sox, right? So it takes care of some of the conversation. And if, what a nightmare to have a one-on-one Zoom with Elton John, right? What do you say? Great, I love Yellow Brick Road, whatever.
Yeah.
But to do a Twitch with somebody, it's like, oh, okay, we're gaming and we'll have a chat while we're doing this other thing.
Exactly.
So I kind of like that. There's one other thing I saw, which I'm not sure if, I think it was somebody was just doodling, but they did a watercolor representation of their favorite band's album cover.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really kind of,
that is a very clever idea. I'm going to write that one down too.
Plus it gets you the cross-pollination of somebody in your band's got to be able to paint a little bit. It gets you the cross-pollination, the same as covering a band's song. We didn't cover the song, but here's this watercolor I did. Mm-hmm. And then, Youth, who plays bass with Killing Joke, he also produced Paul McCartney's last album. He's really a stellar individual. Wow. He paints he paints a canvas in the afternoon, and he sells his canvases while it's still wet. It's just like, instead of sitting around doing nothing, there's so many of those little ideas.
Martin, I'd love to sit down with you at some point and show you the other items on my list of 300. I think you'll find other things, and you'll probably even give me another 300 if we just sat around and talked, I swear.
Yeah.
Because this is just 45 of them. I did have artwork on there. You just like enhanced the heck out of my artwork item to so much bigger than I had even dreamed.
But it's I mean, I know this stuff and my head is spinning. I can imagine if I came to this event as somebody who loves playing bass and wants to, how can I make money from my songs? Here's 45 and there's another 100. But that's it, isn't it? It's the death of 1,000 cuts in reverse.
Yeah. It goes back. It actually kind of goes back to what I said in the beginning. How much you make minus how much you spend is how much you keep. Well, I found that a lot of these methods to make money, most of them cost nothing, or very, very low amounts. And like one of the themes of the book, and you're gonna like this because I mean you're a living experiment for this kind of thing. There's this great book that I read, business book called Little Bets. I like to call them small experiments, which are these little things that you try out, you see what it works or not. And of course, you have to dump what doesn't work. That's the thing. Most people don't like killing their darlings, as they say. But the ones that do, if you can find a way to do that inexpensively in terms of not just money, but time and energy as well, and then once they work, you just go in on that, then that's how you know what actually is kind of working out for you. And so you're not meant to do 45 different ways to make money with music after watching this thing. You actually just take a few that you think are within reach and give them a shot, and then try a couple more later and build it. It's more like building a snowman than it is like just lying on the ground and just trying to pull the snow in at once. Just roll it up. Try these little things.
I think different different areas of this. Some people will be attracted to the arty stuff. Some people will be attracted to the crossing the T's and dotting the I's of PROs, split sheets, and affiliate marketing and all the rest of it. And maybe as a band, you could split this up. Like, who's going to do the grant writing? You know, all of that stuff.
Totally.
There's a couple more questions in the Q&A if you have time, Randy.
I have only just a couple more minutes. I'd love to answer. I wish I could stay forever, though. I love this.
Okay. How often do you recommend live stream performances?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the end. What kind of performances?
How often do you recommend a live stream performance?
Oh, well, it depends on your fan base and what they want. I have a good friend who's doing one every Thursday night, and he's just doing a wonderful job of it. He calls it 13 songs. He has in the little studio area that's set aside with lighting, and he has a little marker. He just flips it every time till he gets to 13. He has a different theme every time, and it's like an appointment watching thing. But it depends on your fans. That's another thing to experiment with and try out. I wouldn't tire them out, of course, but it should be a treat for them to look forward to.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And then I see a question from Mason, but what's the best way to profit off a band whose message is inherently anti-commercial?
Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? I would get really creative about that kind of thing. I mean, one of the biggest non-commercial things you can do is directly support me buying stuff. And that's where Patreon is probably the most minimal, or you can just have them pay you directly. It's like, look, support me so I can make you music. The most simple type of transaction you can have. Look, if you're doing a good job of this, I guess we're looking at it from the other point of view, right? We're talking about musicians and we're saying, here's all the great ways you can monetize this. Here's the margin. Look, I'm speaking to the music manager in your head. That's the hat you're wearing right now, right? But if you do this right, I can't emphasize enough, and Martin, man, can I learn from you on this, is that it will be authentic if you do your version of this. It's very authentic. It's not just buy my crap. This is part of my message, and this thing that I have, it has my motto on it. It's a hat with my motto on it that means something, or a t-shirt that says something that I mean about society, in which case they don't mind supporting you. If you consider that commercial, then back it up to just pay me directly. And use PayPal Me, which allows you to do a monthly payment if you want. Then you don't even have anything but just help me out to make more music.
I think I'd do a t-shirt that says fuck commercialism. And
see, this is why I love hanging out with you, Martin. I fucking love that. As long as we're swearing around here.
Commercialism, 2 for 1.
That is so funny. It's ironic is the beautiful thing. So there you go. I mean, if you got to make that t-shirt now.
Yeah,
I don't know who asked that. Now. I can't see the chat, but that's see.
So this is just a wheelbarrow full of really great information. It feels like weeks worth of work for people to go through this. I would suggest that people get your book. I know you've got the QR code for that. We're going to use this as a textbook next semester as part of our revenue streams class.
Awesome.
So, and when we are physical again, it will be great if you would come and visit us.
I'd love to. Yeah.
But thank you so much for taking the time, Randy. This has been a really special edition of MmX. Oh, and let me remind everybody, next Friday, the 28th at noon. noon, we'll be in conversation with artist and mentor Ad2. Hey, Randy, thanks again. I really appreciate it.
I thank you so much. I always love, man, we always get so much out of talking with each other. So
Yeah,
looking
really
forward
good,
to it.
really good.
Thanks.
Okay, take it easy and thank you.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.